Ms. Wilkie, who you think the best university band in the world is?
The Ohio State University.
Now
You
tell them
know.
about
No, it's the University of Texas. They're both D's, by the way. The neighbor, I guess, is THE University.
All right, it's now 6 o'clock, and we'll call to order the board meeting of East Texas Advanced Academy Board of Directors. I'll ask Mr. Murray to please send the invocation and pledge allegiance.
Please stand. Father, thank you for gathering us together. Thank you for watching over us, giving us your wisdom and strength in our lives, your forgiveness of our sins. We pray, Father, that you will watch over our teachers and our faculty and our students and families. At this time, we ask that you take this virus away from us, Father, so that we can get back to educating these children and going on with our lives. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Chief Executive Officer report, Dr. Wise, do you have anything for the board today?
Yes, thank you so much. We would, like to start off first, by recognizing our Board of Trustees. And last month was Board Appreciation Month. We didn't meet, but it would be remiss of us if we didn't take this opportunity, to recognize you on behalf of the 6 network schools. I would like to thank you, Board of Trustees, for your commitment to our students, to our community, and to the support of the mission of providing the best education possible for our children. We could not achieve our goals or continue to maintain high expectations for all without the support of this board and the support not only do you provide to the school, but support that you provide to this community. At this time, I'm going to ask our Director of Talent and Search, Mr. Brown, will come forward with the presentations.
I'd like to present Mr. Murray with the certificate of appreciation. We know that you give your time and all, we know how much you guys really, really value education, and without you, like Dr. Wise stated, without you, we wouldn't be here being able to do the job that we do. And so, thank you very much, Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Ray.
Hold on.
Oh.
Wait, let me get straight on here.
Straighten your hair.
Let me get one more with the flash one just to make sure that we have it. Okay. There we go.
Okay, I can testify that he actually used to have that. Also, like to show our appreciation to you as well, and the time that you give, especially being the president of the board, you know that's even extra job. So, I want to show you how much we appreciate.
Oh, look good, Brown, like you present.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Dr. Willis? Yes, sir. I'd like to show our appreciation to you, the certificate of appreciation, and you know how much time you put in and how valuable your time actually is as the children of ETAA. In fact, the children of LIC appreciate it. Thank you.
And we have some other tokens of appreciation from all of the campuses. And so before you leave, please pick up your little goodie bags.
I guess I'll speak on behalf of all board members. You know, we thank the Longview ISD, school board for thinking outside the box. Dr. Wilcox for allowing us to give this opportunity to children of Longview ISD, that the state is offering. So it's our pleasure to serve the children of Longview ISD.
Thank you. Next on the agenda for the CEO report is the curriculum and instruction piece. Just want to inform the board that we have analyzed the data collected from our first 3 common assessments. They were administered during the first semester of the school year. Despite the challenges that the teachers have faced during the unprecedented times, we believe our students are on track to be prepared for the high stakes exam this spring, the STAR. Additionally, our reading specialists have started the Reading Academy for kinder through 2nd grade teachers. Now, this is mandated by House Bill 3. And year after next, I believe, if you have not gone through this House Bill 3 Reading Academy and passed that course, which is 11 months, then you will not be considered highly qualified, and you no longer will be able to teach in grades K through 3. And so we have, I believe Crystal have nearly 90 teachers right now that are going through the academy with her. And Ms. Lewis, Crystal Lewis is the only certified HB3, what they call cohort leader across LISD. And we're just so proud to have her and supporting her in all of her efforts. Forest Park Middle School, another area to highlight, just completed their STEM fair, and they had 76 students to participate and present projects. And now 8 of those projects are advancing to regional, and that's gonna be held later this month in Kilgore ISD. House Bill 3, I mentioned House Bill 3, and there were many organizations that wrote letter to the Texas legislature in allocating on to continue funding House Bill 3. And ETAA was a part of shaping that legislation. And from what I understand, it seems like it was very successful. You should have a letter, the letter that we sign off on. And also notice that the Longview Chamber of Commerce was another organization that signed that letter in support of maintaining the funding of HB 3. All of this is under community engagement. Another community engagement activity that we participated in was we purchased a banner from the Longview High School soccer program through their booster club, because we wanted to show them support. And this banner will be displayed on the field during home games at Lobo Station. So ETAA is there as well. We had our Women Empowerment Day on the same day of the inauguration. And I cannot begin to tell you the overwhelming support that we had from all of the campuses. And unless you have some questions about anything I have just discussed, I'm just gonna show you a little 2-minute snippets from each of the campuses on Women Empowerment Day. We wore white to recognize this historical moment and to show our girls that you can achieve whatever you put your mind to doing. And, so we'll go ahead and get started with that. We had, so many slides, it was really difficult to get it down to 2 minutes because it was just a beautiful thing, so I hope you enjoyed that. Also, along the lines of, community engagement, ETAA last Friday supported the American Heart Association and the city of Longview. The city of Longview had a campaign called Go Red for Women Digital Experience. We participated with students and staff across the network schools wearing red. Pictures were shared on the ETAA Facebook page, as well as the Facebook page of all of our campuses. We recognize that 1 in 3 women are dying from cardiovascular disease. Any questions thus far before I move on to our, survey results for the mid-year? Any questions, about the survey results? Just want to mention that, we had 408 parents to respond, 778 elementary students, and 329 middle school students out of about 456, students. And,
What was the improvement on the surveys turned in, you know,
from the first,
from the first survey to the second, I mean, that's a drastic jump for the elementary.
well, yes. We went from the first survey, 353 elementary kids participated, and to, 778. And we shortened it drastically. Remember, I think I mentioned it, this next time I'm gonna make it shorter. Teachers, actually, their responses went down, and I can only equate that to, I mean, we told you the first time, you know, they're teachers, right? And so, but we were very pleased with these, survey results. Is there anything that jumps right out at you that you have questions about? All of our board members have had their Lone Star governance training and have received their certificates, so we're very happy about that, but more training is coming. Our blended learning grant program, MIZ Math Innovation Zone, Ms. Williams has already, started to, the implementation process of that. And what it is, it would be centered around math in the classroom. And the teachers, is not, here's something else for teachers to do, because what they're doing, we already have a technology center in the classroom. And so when the students get to this technology center, so it's a blending of technology with traditional, teaching, they'll be able to go on this program and to hone their math skills. And it won't take away any extra time, or as I stated, something else for teachers to do. Our goal, we plan to extend this throughout the summer, as well as have a reading academy. Because as we know with the COVID slide and then the summer slide with the children, we're seeing the effects of that in our students' reading levels. We have not reached the goal of the number of students being on reading level where it should be. So we have to pause and close that gap, and we're gonna do that this summer. We're working hard. It's not as bad as it could be considering what I've been reading from other districts, but we wanna make sure that our children progress to the next grade and be on reading level.
What percentage of our teachers are gonna participate in, do you anticipate,
In the blended learning grant or the summer?
for the summer?
I don't know. What we talked about is starting with the teachers for your K-2 teachers, those teachers that are already in the reading academy, to give them first dibs at teaching summer school.
Okay.
And but what we also talk about that we must do is extend summer school, but traditionally in the district, it's like 2 weeks. We need more than 2 weeks. The minimum is 4 weeks.
Are we going to budget for that?
Yes, sir. We've been working with Dr. Stewart and some of this, blended, called BLGP, MIZ grant money would assist us as well. So we've already visited with Dr. Stewart about the budget and how that's going to look. At this time, I'm going to ask, Dr. Andrews to come, and he's gonna give you a report on the band at Forest Park.
Okay.
Good evening, Dr. Wise, good evening, board. I'm gonna keep this as brief as possible, but I'm gonna get right to the point, right to the facts. This year due to COVID, we experienced a big change in how we normally do things. Of course, because of COVID, it's no longer business as usual, we had to take precautions. This school year, and I'm going through a narrative, this school year, we changed the way we did master scheduling. We changed the way teachers conducted classes. So the beginning of the year, Dr. Wise sat down with us, all the principals, and decided we made a schedule where we parted kids. Instead of letting kids rotate from class to class, we let the teachers rotate, and that stopped the spread of the COVID virus around the building, and it worked great for us. Included in that was the band. Because of parting our kids that way and keeping it safe, it was basically just really impossible to let it be business as usual where all the kids can go to band at the same exact time. What I mean by that is, because of parting kids, we had certain kids go to certain subjects during the day at a certain time, which means that the elective classes, of course, would change in that order of time. So, Dr. Wise and the counselor, Ms. Kegler and Mr. Mack, we sat down and we matched up the schedule as best possible, to let our kids, go to band, at the same time, grade-wise. we got that down pretty good. If you wanna talk exact numbers, we have 403 kids present on the campus right now, and 112 of them are remote learners. Out of all of those kids, right now, Forest Park, we have 33% of our students are participating in our band program, which is a pretty good number considering considering right now what we're going through with COVID. We did a comparison with Foster, we did a comparison with Judson. Foster has 38% of their kids participating in band of their population, and Judson had 30% of their kids participating in band totally. So I don't think those numbers were too bad. The drop in the band numbers that you saw, we have kids online that are still in band or they're still participating in band via online, and they do that by recordings. Our band director does have a Google Classroom. Because of this, we had qualifiers, regional qualifiers contest earlier this year, and those kids had to participate by recording sessions and emailing those sessions that were recorded via internet. So we had 7 kids to qualify for regional qualifiers, even with recording them and sending those recordings in. So I don't think that's too bad considering the situation. We had a meeting in September. Dr. Wise and I, Ms. Daniel, Mr. Brewer, and we explained to Ms. Daniel and Mr. Brewer how we had everything set up as far as master schedules and what our plans were with the kids. The difficulty, it wasn't really a difficulty, but it was the only way we could work this out. Because of COVID, and we learning more about COVID now, we did not allow a band to play or practice inside of the building. Because whoever saw sprays in the air, that's how it spread. So, we made arrangements for the kids to practice band during the periods on the patio area behind the cafeteria under the shade. They practiced until November, until the weather got implemented. We did purchase, with the help of the high school, bell horn covers. When we purchased the bell horn covers and the weather changed and the temperature dropped, we did allow, the band to come inside the building and practice on a daily basis. But I made it to Mr. Brown, had to put it in writing to me, the exact plan of action when the kids plan to come back in the building and how they wanna practice, exactly how they wanna practice, where the bell horn covers, for example, wanna be on the horns, and that type of thing, all safety precautions. So by doing it that way, if you look at our numbers, we did not have any cases of COVID spread through the band department. So I think that accomplished part of the job as far as keeping our campus safe. But the meeting that we had was to discuss the number of kids in band schedules, band activities during COVID, and band practicing arrangements during COVID. We made it through that, and like I said, we began to practice on the inside of the building after November when the weather changed and we got the bell covered. Told you about the regional qualifiers and the majorettes. Right now, our band director have contacted all of our previous schools. So the beginning building process for the band for next school year is in process. Our band director does have it set up where we can go and recruit kids for the band. And it will be in the next couple of weeks. We'll be going to Brownlee, we'll be going to Ware, we'll be going to Jail Everhart, and the recruiting efforts. 8th grade was the biggest, I guess it was the biggest grade level to take a hit, because our 8th grades, those are the most kids who are online at home. So if you look at the numbers, on a comparison, our 8th grade kids, we have the least amount, I guess you could say. At least it was lower than it was last school year, but that was because of the amount of kids that stayed home for COVID. But we're only, if you look at a comparison number between this year and last year, we're only 10 kids short. And those were, most of them took a hit in 8th grade, and like I said, those kids are at home, because of COVID. The parents chose to keep them at home for online learning. And the last thing that I have, unless we have any questions, would be, I would like to ask, I guess you could say, a bigger budget, Dr. on the gonna say no probably, but, I would like to get some new things for the band, particularly, they had an interest in some more brass instruments, I believe, in the back, they asked for last year. But, other than that, I think we're on pace and on task, and I think we're doing pretty good considering, the situation that we had to go through this current school year. And I think it's pretty amazing, because we did not do business as usual as far as park, we wanted to keep kids safe. So I think we did an amazing job considering the situation that we were put in, this school year. Board, if you have any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to address any questions that you may have.
The bell cover, is this an instrument cover?
Yes, it's a cloth cover, and, any instrument, that you blow through, I think we have one for clarinets, we have one for trumpets, we have one for baritones, tubas and that type of thing. And, any instruments that you have to blow aerosols through, we want a bell cover for, to try to be safe.
Dr. Andrews, did you, your parents, did you get any parents complaint about band, the way they?
Yes, ma'am, I had one parent complaint this year, and it was from a parent because, they needed a flute. And I called her up and we were able to give her a flute, because of course, a lot of parents that we serve can't afford instruments, themselves, so we try to have enough, and that's why I asked about more money for more instruments possibly, to loan those instruments out to the kids. And, also on that end, every year we send instruments in to get cleaned and maintenance through the company, so this year we took a hit because every instrument that we had, we sent it in for maintenance, cleaning because of COVID. That's where the hit came in, it was unexpected cost, nobody expected COVID to hit. So, but yes, ma'am, that was the only complaint I had was getting a hold of a flute to check out to one of the parents.
Dr. Andrews, I think, if you have them make a list of the instruments they want, what the needs are for the kids and the band,
Yes,
we'll certainly take that under advisement.
yes,
Yeah, just some type of audit of what equipment we have and what the needs are.
yes,
I really, I've thought about this quite a bit, and I wanna make my position clear to you.
yes,
And administration of ETAA. ETAA was formed to better education for the student. We are not here, we are not in the business of dictating to the other professionals in our in LISD's organization what they should and should not be doing. And I'm gonna go back to, I do not want band directors dictating to my teachers how to teach. My teachers, my administrators are professionals. I expect them to do their job, and I expect them to know how to do their job. And I do not expect our administration to dictate to band professionals how to safely and effectively handle their students. And that should come from another area. We are here to better education for students. And I want us to focus tightly on maintaining and making education better for our students. And I think if we get off chasing and, safety of students and all that, that's all great, that's great. But I'm not a medical professional, I'm not capable of dictating what that is, or knowing what that is. But we want to concentrate on education for our kids. And if the band directors, if the band personnel, if they're professionals, choose a path. I don't wanna argue with them about it. But I don't want them arguing with me about our educational, ways we're doing education. We all wanna stay professional, we wanna stay in our lane. So I'm reiterating to you, there's a thin line in administration between managing and getting in the way. And we don't wanna get in the way. We know what we wanna do. Cynthia, you know what you wanna do education, and we wanna stay focused in those lanes. We don't wanna get into the band program, we don't wanna get into the football program. These are out of our lanes. This is not what we're here for. We wanna stay focused on what we're here for, because what the task that we've set for ourselves and the goals that we've told LISD will admit what we are going to achieve, those are significant enough. That's more than enough for us to be taking on without chasing it, to my way of thinking, chasing rabbits in other areas. And that's just my opinion. You know, that's not the opinion of the board. That's Judge Murray's opinion. But, I want you to, you know, when we're looking at these things, I would appreciate a judicious review of whether we're staying tightly focused in what we're trying to do in our contract with LISD.
We are bound by contract.
We are bound by contract.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. I will take that into advisement and as further in review.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you, board. Thank you.
Ms. Dance is here from, the high school band director. Is it Dan, is it not?
Daniel.
Dan, Ms. Daniels. And I wanted the board to hear from Ms. Daniels as well.
Okay. I was asked to be here tonight by Mr. Brewer, and I wasn't really sure, in what context and everything. I was here to answer questions for you, just from our point of view as band directors. I can tell you this, when COVID first hit, I was called along with Coach King to the administration building, and we were point blank told that this was not gonna get in the way of the growth of our programs, and, just to get to work. And so I began, with our staff, just kind of researching, and we had months to do that, researching how to safely have band. And we knew that our programs would take a hit because of just numbers and online learning and things, and just taking that time off from spring break until summer. And we knew that we would take a hit because of that, but we started to just formulate a plan, which we have books of just documentation of how we can safely have band. We traveled, like with our high school band, to AT&T Stadium, for a football game, went to several other football games, and went to marching contest, and had no holes in our drill, and there was no one missing. We thought we were, able to safely have band throughout the fall. And to get back on to our middle school feeders, first of all, just to give you an idea, in our high school band, our numbers, we're about 38% Foster, 33% Forest Park, and 25% Judson, about 4% come from other schools. 33% of our band is from Forest Park, and in my opinion, this school has been our lifeline for many years. It just happens to be that many of our talented musicians come from Forest Park, and without it, we would not be the logo band that we are. And a lot of people think that, with Cousin Pep starting in 5th grade and everything, that is our main contributor, but our talent in many ways has come from Forest Park. And our program is designed so that all of those middle schools, all 3 middle schools, function essentially the same way. And I haven't seen that, and we say we were, created to better education for our kids. Numbers out the window, what I see when I come here onto this campus is not a functioning band program. And, our 8th grade numbers right now in person at Forest Park are 31, but there's only 18 in the class period together, so they can't go to contest this year. And because 18 or 17, I hear 17, 18, depending on, one student being there, sometimes not, they can't go to contest. And at Foster, our 8th grade band and our intermediate band are both going to contest. At Judson, we have, and it's a rebuilding process for different reasons at Judson, but at Judson, we have 44 in the 8th grade band. They are is we're just not able to form those ensembles in the classes that we're in. And so, you know, we have, I know from an administrative point of view, when you're setting a schedule for a school, and I know the pandemic really caused problems with that, but band is not number one, I understand that. Academics is number one. However, if you don't schedule your band classes first, you can't have one that functions properly, because it's just too complex. You have beginners that have to be separated, you know, we keep our 7th grade bands together, our 8th graders together, and right now, our 8th graders are in with 6th graders throughout the day, half of them. And so, it's just not, that the schedule has prevented it, and I understand completely the reason behind it, and I came here in September and spoke to you about it. We sat down in September, early August, I think, sitting down talking about how this was gonna impact our program, and we did make changes through the year, but we're still at the point right now where it is not functioning the way we've been able to achieve it at the other middle schools. And I'm fearful for the effect that's gonna have on our program, because like I said, we're 33% Forest Park. We have 18 students right now in our 8th grade band that are in there meeting together, and interest is low right now, because they sat outside in 100-degree weather for a good first part of the year, and then they're not with their friends, they're not performing, they're not functioning as a band should. It's just a class they go through fundamentals, and we talk about ways to be as motivating as we can. It's just not functioning the way I saw this program growing last year, and our numbers may be comparable to last year, but we were set to grow. We had 167 in the program last year. That's come down to 129 in person right now, but we also had about 109 beginners committed, and so our numbers really dropped from what we see, 87, what it could have grown to, if that makes sense. And so, you know, we need to get caught up in those numbers. They're alarming to me, but the bottom line to me is that I don't see here what I see at other schools, and I mean, we're putting our best foot forward in all situations that we have, but it's just not functioning the way it should yet. Do y'all have any questions for me that I might answer?
So, I guess I've got questions for both you and Dr. Andrews. Dr. Andrews, would you please step up forward? What can we do to address some of the disconnect that we've just talked about? I mean, there's not anything we can do this year. We've kind of, COVID's blown this year completely up on us. It's over. Going into the summer, we're changing our schedules for next year. What can we do to get back on a more normal track as far as that's concerned? Because we certainly that's not. I don't think that's what ETAA. So I don't know. The bottom line, I don't think that's what ETAA wanted to do with the band program. Music is certainly an integral part of education.
Right, and I'm gonna tell you, from my background, to tell you how important it is, I'm not just a football coach. I played in the band from the 6th grade to the 12th grade. So I care about band and fine arts. Right now, at this time, our master schedule should be almost complete before we leave spring break, right? And, given the new situation with a possible vaccine coming forward, you know, I'm hoping that we can get back more to a more normal. Now, what Ms. Daniels said was partially correct and partially incorrect. Right now, at this time, if we look at master schedule numbers, the majority of our kids are in grade level band right now. And when I said we met and with Dr. Wise and our counselor, we did the very best we could. If I have a kid that's not in the grade level band, there may be one, or there may be two. to say is that, if they did not go to contest last week, I have to take a look at my band director, because they have the opportunity to get kids ready to go to a contest. I did not receive. Last school year, I received a schedule of events. This year, but, can I say this just to, and it applies. This year, I didn't receive a schedule of events. I can guarantee you, had I seen a schedule of events and I saw contests coming and when they were supposed to come, we would have had a competitive band at that contest last week. But if you don't know about it, because you didn't receive a schedule of events, then can't do anything about it. But I can tell you, next school year, as far as scheduling goes, and as far as, it'll be a collaborative effort to make sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be.
Well, we won't need the pods either, because the kids can go back to
Is it-
circulating, changing classes. So they'll go back to a normal schedule, considering, the vaccine and so forth.
Well, having 18, in our 8th grade band right now, that's the ones that do meet at the same time. Is there no way to fix the schedule? Cause I would love to see changes this year. I know we're in February, but I mean, that's, a good portion of the year where we can turn some of this around and locate some of the, two things, locate kids that we lost and schedule the kids in band the way they need to be scheduled. And beginners together, 7th graders together, and 8th graders together. For those of you that might not know, it's like teaching math and English in the same classroom, if you get beginners and 8th graders, and that's what's happening.
Is that a possibility?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, right now, that's what I'm telling you, boy, it's not like that. It's not like that across the board. I don't have a class of a bunch of 6th graders in with a bunch of 7th graders right now, at this time. We fixed the schedule, we got evidence, we fixed the schedule. We may have one 6th grader in with a 7th grade class, we may have one 7th grader in with an 8th grade class. We worked on that to make it balanced as possible. Now, I will get with Dr. Wise, and I will get with the counselor, but I can say if we change the schedule at this juncture of the year, when we close to test time, you're gonna cause another disruption. We're gonna cause another disruption on the campus as far as educationally, we disrupt the master schedule at this point in the school year. We're too close to the end of testing time to disrupt what's going on right now at this point. But I am willing to sit down with Ms. Daniel and show her what we've done, and show her the numbers, and possibly listen to some suggestions that she may have. I'm willing to do that right now at this time. But if at this time, it's possible to disrupt, you'll be disrupting the whole flow of what's going on in this school year if we change at this junction. It affects, because everything affects academically. If we change that around, some kids may have to be moved to another math teacher or a reading teacher at this time, that they've been used to this one all year long. That's what I mean by disruption in the classroom if we change the whole schedule at this junction, or this part of the school year.
Then we need to meet with the band director for Spark.
He was invited, I was expecting him.
And he's also resigned.
He's resigned.
We did a reassignment, and really because of this situation, not gonna be here next year, so. And also, just having those things in place could potentially help us find someone that would come to this school, because the scheduling is just something that managers look for in a job, and we want a good one, a good manager to come here and do what's right for the kids.
And I understand what you said, and I'm willing to work with, it's not like I'm standing on this hill and that hill can't be, coupled together. That's not a situation like that. So I don't want the board to have a picture painted in their head that I'm not a reasonable administrator, reasonable man. That's not the case.
Dr. Andrews,
Yes,
we, aside from the practical considerations of music being part of education, and I appreciate that you were in the band, I was not. My daughter was drum major of the Lobo band when she was here. But, I think, you know, just frankly, politically, there's a lot of Lobo band alums in this town. This is about, we are not going to win as an organization. We have to, work with this organization. This community has a lot of pride in the Lobo band, and rightly so. So, you know, to be a part of any organization that does anything to bring that down, that's just unacceptable. That's politically unacceptable.
Yes.
So we need to, you know, we need to work with the band, and we need to work with the professionals, Ms. Daniel, in the band, and we need to get them what they need, because our kids are getting what we need. And we're letting COVID take us too far out of what we do. We're letting COVID take us too far out of what we do. And, we can't set these kids back a year or two on that. So I'd ask you to sit down with Ms. Daniels, see what you can do.
Yes.
And the rest of the board may support me in that or not, I don't know, but that's the way I feel about it.
Yes, I respect it.
Thank you, appreciate it. Ms. Daniel, I appreciate you coming tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Daniels and Dr. Andrews. Just an update on the COVID vaccine. The district was expecting, I believe, it said 3,000 vaccines, and we're still waiting on those. But when we did our survey, out of 430 employees, approximately employees through our ETAA, we had 138 responded that they were interested. That's about 32%. And the survey, that was as of last week. Any questions about the vaccine?
We'd certainly like to get that for every teacher that was interested.
Yes, sir. And it's enough. We have, I believe it was 2,000, and I heard today it was 3,000. And we have, I think they said 1,756 employees throughout the district. So it's more than enough for every employee, cafeteria worker, custodians, everyone that wants it will be able to get it. Okay. ETAA was highlighted in Senate Bill 1882 implementation overview by the Texas Education Agency. We're very proud of that. They were spotlighted as a newly formed and existing school that school support nonprofit. Also, LISD was also mentioned in this report. So everyone knows that we're doing excellent and wonderful things here in Longview, and we're getting the recognition for that as well. I was extremely happy to see that the commissioner and TEA mentioned the well-developed culture conscious campus model and how it's been implemented across all 6 campuses. So another area spotlight for ETAA. This one last, I want to share this with you because it is Black History Month and we won't take a lot more of your time. But Ms. Burns did something that I think is phenomenal. We have interactive lesson plans throughout the network. But she did this and shared with me, and I'm going to have her to do a training on February 19th on staff development to train the specialists and the team leaders from all of the various campuses and how to create a lesson using this technology.
So this is something that I had created for Black History Month for Johnson McQueen and then other educators and students within ETAA. But one of the challenges that we've had this school year is, of course, COVID, and how do we have large-scale celebrations with our campus? What does that look like? And so one of the ways that we've tackled it at Johnson McQueen and then also at all the other campuses is looking at virtual celebrations. And so many another section of this slide PowerPoint where it's highlighting various African American and Black poets. And so every single one of these items here are clickable, where students are actually able to click, and it takes them to a video, a book, further research, where the students are able to learn about significant people, significant African Americans, and Black individuals. So that's just looking at some of our poets, and like I said, all of these are hyperlinked, where they're able to go out. These are all books, where the characters are African American or Black individuals, or the authors are also African Americans or Black individuals. Students are able to navigate, they see things like this every single day. Students have, at Johnson McQueen, they have touchscreen Chromebooks thanks to the board. That was something that came in over the summer. Every single student, we were one-to-one with touchscreen Chromebooks, so they're able to touch. They're not just clicking on a mouse, but they're actually able to touch and go in to the various components of this. This is it's made to look like a museum, where every single one, you click on it. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm good.
Yes, you did.
That is amazing.
That's what we do over here.
But every single one you're able to go in.
Click on
This
one.
is
Like when you click on that, it then go to a slide or something into the encyclopedia.
Let me see.
I went through it.
And so not only are the kids able to explore and research, but then also they're able to take a look at it and then reflect upon what they've learned, and then also what do they want to know. And so not only is it just, it's a resource, but then also it is kind of that jumping off point for further research and exploration. So like I said, we typically would do a Black History Month celebration where the students are able to learn and understand about these people. We had to think about it differently this year. And so this is one of the ways in which we put it.
Yes, quick question. At what grade level do our kids learn to do this?
My third graders are, now, first graders, they know how to click in to navigate and go, but actually to create something like this, our third graders are doing things like this.
They're very sophisticated.
Megan, click on that band. Click on that band.
So I wanted to highlight, historically Black college and university, and so I chose Prairie View. Some of our teachers at Johnson McQueen, they are graduates. I know here at Forest Park, we have graduates of Prairie View, and then also some of our teachers' children go to Prairie View. So it's near and dear to our heart. And so I highlighted Prairie View and just, we're talking about the band. And so wanted to highlight the marching storm. And so it has, within it tells you, sorry, it's a little loud, but it goes through one of their performances. It also talks about, you want to join the drum line. We went to the website and we researched it, and this is what you need to be able to do in order to try out for the drum line.
And see, this would motivate children to want to go to college and be in the band and be on the drum line.
They'll be on the band in middle school.
They start right here.
Yes.
They start here.
And we just had, our 5th grade course selections, that's coming up for many of our elementaries during this time period. And so this is one of those things where you want to eventually be here. Well, it starts in middle school for us. And so,
And I clicked on one today and it was, who came up,
a recording student,
Angela Bassett was reading a book.
yes.
She had a book, but click on Bob Marley.
So yes, all of these elements up here, they're all linked in, like Bob Marley. Go in and just further expose students to great artists and but it would play Bob Marley. But and even like some great beats, science fair scientists. Again, all of this stuff is linked in. Kids, they know how to maneuver, and if they don't know how to maneuver, give it to them for 2 minutes and they're clicking away. They know exactly how to do it. But I specifically wanted to make sure that it was attainable for elementary students, so they're able to read it and understand it. And then for some of our higher level students, there's also things linked in where they can go and further research. So this is one of the ways in which we're celebrating. This has gone out to all of our classrooms at Johnson McQueen, and then also it'll be shared out with the classrooms of ETAA for students to not only look at it, research it, and then
And you'll be doing the training
Yes, ma'am.
on the 19th.
Yes.
See, Alan over here, he's looking, he's thinking, he's got to find a fourth grader. We could do that for Saturday.
Right?
I mean, I tell you.
He needs a fourth grader.
I have some fourth graders for you. I have some fourth graders for you. But literally, everything here, all the little icons go out into something else where students are able to take a look at it, research it, and then, perhaps do something else with it. I know they're doing stuff with it in the classroom, but the hope is that it'll motivate them to go home and do something. Or because they've learned something, they go home and make a change, or even within the school community, learn something and then make a change.
And that research piece is really a big component of our IIB. Mr. Brown, you want to chime in on that?
The whole thing about when you boil down the IB to what it really is, it's the idea that everything is connected. And through those connections is how kids actually learn. That one of the problems that we've had in education, and one of the issues that we've had in education, and trying to get our kids to do what they're supposed to do, is that we have tended to put aspects of education and curriculum in different boxes. But kids just don't learn that way. In fact, we all know that adults don't learn that way. That the learning comes through the idea of seeing the connection. And the IB, literally, by the time the student gets from the PYP to the MYP, the DP student, that high school student that's doing the diploma program, literally every class they take is integrated into all the others. And so to the point where at one of the end projects that the DP student does is an extended essay where they take a specific subject that they're interested in, but they connect all of the learning from all of the different curriculum into that extended essay. And then when they stand, and they almost do a dissertation defense of what they've written, and they do an oral defense of how does all of these different curricula fit into what I know about this subject that I'm now presenting to you. And so when we started out with doing something like this, the kids are seeing that this is all connected. That when we teach them about the history of something, it's also connected to the art of something, it's also connected to the math, it's connected to the science, it's all connected. When we start to get students to the point where they understand that it's all connected, then they have those aha moments that we're not feeding to them, they're getting it themselves. And when you start to get kids to understand that they have control over what they learn, even if they're in 3rd and 4th grade, then you start to see real change.
I think I just had an aha moment.
Well, I'm a aha, and that's all I have.
That is amazing. Does that conclude the report, Dr. Lyons?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Dr. Coleman, do you have anything for us on behalf of Longview ISD?
I would like to reiterate on behalf of LISD and Dr. Wilcox and all, thank you for your service. You were willing to step out on a limb and do something new here because you believe in the students of Longview ISD, and we applaud you for that, and we thank you very much for the service that you give, and we know that it's all been a thankless job, but we do thank you and appreciate the time and effort that you put in. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Moving on to the consent agenda, A, B, C, and D.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, A, B, C, and D. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. agenda, discuss and approval of expenditure of $25,000 or higher for technology.
Make a motion that we approve the expenditure.
All right, I've got a motion and a second to approve, the expenditure. Any discussion?
I've seen what's written in the paperwork here. Let me ask, does that cover ETAA? Is that a small portion of the teachers that are now caught up? Are all the teachers now caught up? What are we looking at? We have the students caught up, now we're finding out the teachers are behind the students, technology wise, so where are we here?
Our teachers are in good shape with technology.
Okay, this brings.
And this would be jail Everhart.
Jail Everhart.
We pretty much have everyone covered.
How about our other campuses?
They all have Chromebooks, some have laptops, some have both.
Okay.
Didn't we already have a report on technology on the different campuses?
We've had a report, but specifically this one is for Chromebooks that were approved to start purchasing, but we were unable to get a vendor to purchase them, and then we were. And so now that those Chromebooks are able to be purchased, because of COVID, there were holdups on the ship at port. So those Chromebooks are arriving, so now is the opportunity to purchase those Chromebooks now through Dell. And so it is for ETMPA, actually it's ETMPA in jail Everhart, and it includes the necessary chargers for students to take home the devices that were already purchased and on the campuses already. So this would then bring it one-to-one throughout the network.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve B, C. Make a motion we approve B and C.
All right, I've got a motion and a second to approve action items D and C. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, discuss an appointment of a member to the Board of Trustees of the East Texas Advanced Academies Board of Directors.
Make a motion we approve the appointment of a new member to the board.
All right, I've got a motion and a second to approve a new member to the Board of Directors. Any discussion?
Yes. Miss Taylor is sitting in the room. She's well known to most of the people in the room, being a former board member at LISD, and not only that, but a teacher, educator, and innovator in Longview education for the greater part of the last 40 years, with successful children that have graduated from LISD. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity for ETAA to get an outstanding board member who's fully up to speed with what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish, and all of the different moving parts that encompass LISD's drive toward better education for students in Longview. So I just highly applaud the move.
Any other discussion?
If I were President, I would like to present this to Ms. Welby on behalf of Dr. Andrews. students. They made these for you, and I thought, oh my God, how cute and sweet were these, right?
I taught one year at Forest Park, I taught math.
I know, they found out that
First job
you
was
taught
one
math
class
here. And our new MVP, I thought, how
How
darling.
sweet, thank you.
And what's that one?
Can I get just a minute here? Start one?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Oh, I didn't, y'all didn't vote yet?
Welcome aboard.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. President, I thought y'all had cleared the vote, I'm sorry.
I feel honored and looking forward to it.
Okay, well, here you go again, I was just so excited to have you, got a woman, yay.
We have a seat.
I hope you had something to do right over here. And this one says, you're an eagle, because they knew you were an
I
eagle.
was in New York.
Yes, they knew you one time you were an eagle.
Johnston, the Queen, the rest of the time.
Yes, and this says, thank you for making a wise choice. What's all of that? See, kids get it, they get it. Thank you for making a wise choice.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That is so sweet.
That's great. Thank you.
That's my eye.
You can put those on the refrigerator.
Absolutely.
You need bigger magnets.
Refrigerator stuff.
All right, moving right along with the business report. Dr. Beard, do you have anything for the board tonight?
Yes, sir. I did want to kind of run through the business report with you, the financials. Again, we're still on schedule. We're spending pretty well. We've had to make a lot of expenditures this year that, as we went into the budget planning year last year, we didn't expect to have to make, but we're weathering the storm financially. There are a couple of, things to bring up that we'll be in discussions with. The first being that, this year, because of COVID, auditors across the state are really struggling to get with their clients because they're doing most of it, through, virtual means. And so because they're doing it through virtual means, it has changed the nature of how they do it and the time they can spend towards that. So our auditors, the blessing that we have here, our auditors are also the auditors of LISD. What really benefits us is because of the nature of the SB 1882 partnership and how that cost share really works out. So until LISD has recognized fully all of the revenue, then that cost share amount that we discuss and that we go through is not finalized. So what we have to do at this point is we have to rectify all of the revenue that was accounted for through LISD's.
Do we have a financial statement?
It's not in.
I have my copy, more than welcome to have it.
I have in the emails, but I can go print some copies really quick. Please.
But however, so kind of brings to the conversation with, how about the nature of the audit. So what we have to do now is include those revenues into it. So the auditors are concerned, of course, to meet some of the deadlines that we have because of our SB 1882 contract. We felt very comfortable going into this school year that we'd be able to easily meet the timeframe. And so we started talking with our auditor and they were saying about how hard it has been for them to complete. And it has been an issue that's been talked about in financial school circles all year, that it was going to be difficult. Because of the nature of the requirement that school districts have them in based on their fiscal year, January 31st being the last day that they can have them to TPA completed. I believe that LISD's was done on the 27th and finalized, and so they are up against the crunch to get ours done. So we may have to be in talks with the Office of Innovation through Dr. Coleman to discuss if we need to give our auditor a little more time to get done. Now, we've given them everything that we can give them. The final pieces that we have is that recognized revenue that's coming in from LISD. The other portion is, because we recognize that revenue based on the cost share and the contract, and remember, the contract we're working with is the previous one, a 70-30% split. So, based on that old contract that we're being audited through, we have to recognize what those 30% expenditures were, and what the rest of that 70% expenditures were. Thank you, sir. So we'll be working with, their business office to make sure to capture all of that information and put it in. What we really wanna make sure that we do is that we work in tandem so that everything lines up, matches up, and it makes sense for our auditors to be able to do and complete the work. But again, they're the same auditors that LISD has, so they know around about what those numbers are because they just performed LISD. And so it's a contractual agreement crossways, and so they'll be putting that together. The only difference is that they just need to get down to what those bookings are for us to recognize that revenue and expense. So then that also leads to the next question that we'll be working towards, with the financial report, and that is, how do we recognize the revenues and expenditures under the new contract? Because this year we're under the new contract, and of course, we'll be going through this same process again next February. And so what we tried to do this year, it got a lot better this year, going into the second year, because we had financial pathways and business operations that we could all commingle with and work through. And we were able to identify points of contact that were more successful than the origination. We've spoken so many times tonight about how things have gotten better over time, because this is so new, this is so innovative. So that's the nature of what we'll be working through for next year, so that it's a little easier each year, year after year, to have that information to our auditors. I think the biggest step that made it probably the best for an audit purpose is that it's the same auditor. Because it's hard to find auditors who understand SB 1882. It really is. And so it took a long time last year for our auditor to really wrestle with how to exactly show the accrual of funding and things like that. We've done that now, so that foundation has been laid. But that is a conversation that we were in. I spoke with them last week, and then I was also in conversations with Mr. Jones, Ms. Durham, and the new CFO, Mr. Guidry, just to make sure that we're all understanding what that plan is going to be. Finish out this audit, so we get the correct information, and to make it easier for the next audit, so that information's been put a little more timely. So it's not from anybody not doing what they're expected to do, it's just we had to wait for the finalization of their audit, because those final numbers are so important for what an official sale looks like, to show the revenue for last year, expenditures for last year, revenue for this year, expenditures for this year. So, but we're getting there. This is a very unique opportunity. We're getting there. We really are. It's just different. Any questions? Any questions about expenditures? I will say probably the one thing that you'll probably notice is all year we haven't spent anything in social work. It's not that we haven't done any social emotional work for students this year. The funding's coming through the counselors, but we wanted to make sure to at least leave some funds in there if we did want to provide some social services to the campuses. But a lion's share of that work has come through the counseling office this year, a number of those expenditures. That's just because that's where traditionally comes from. Any other questions? Thank you.
How closely are you working with LISD, and there's this, Dr. Guidry coming in, just to get him up to speed with ETAA and LISD and how they intertwine?
We spoke the other day. We didn't get to have the elongated conversation about what those really look like, with us and him sitting around the table. I imagine he's gotten some of that from Mr. Jones, of course, is giving him the handoff, as well as with Ms. Durham in the office. I think right now he's learning what those inner workings look like most likely, because he's just come in. And SB 1882 can take a while for you to really find everything, because it's not just traditional finances, it's on behalf costs, there are contractual costs, there are a number of things that go into that. We anticipate being able to sit down very shortly.
Yeah, if I can interject, Dr. Stewart, we have a meeting, Dr. Coleman's office is getting ready to schedule a meeting, so we can all sit down and we talk about it.
To outline a little more. But we have had some initial conversations on just a couple of things that, as there's a question that comes up, I think that, just like Dr. Wise said, there'll be a lot more that goes into it now, because those really are the difficult connecting pieces between financial, institutions to make sure that everything matches correctly. I mean, the neat part is we have had a lot of control over certain layers of finances and expenditures, especially at the campus level, but it's things that you don't necessarily have direct access to, like transportation. we wouldn't necessarily be telling the transportation department how much to spend on fuel. That's just not an area that we're even attempting. Should go here. We don't even wanna get, we kinda spoke about lanes earlier. It's definitely a lane, we don't wanna be the bus lane. So, but it's the nature of those things that'll come into play, as we kinda go through. But it is very complicated. It is. It's a very complicated system. But it works. We're making it work, and so.
I just wanted to make a comment, I wanted to, on the record, I want to thank Joey Jones, wish him well in his new posting, and thank him for his efforts at LISD and helping us bring ETAA along. His hours of work have been phenomenal.
We were able to talk a little bit last week, and, we felt like we made it work pretty well, because now we have a method now that we're being asked about how we're doing these things at this point. Districts being asked, and so
I'm
we're
sure that ETAA is there to help out and answer any questions that might come about during this time.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely be there, that's what we're here for, partnership.
At this point, you're an old hand at that.
You know, I feel
We're
like
getting out of the gym now.
I feel like it.
Been at it 2 years, that's 24 months longer than you got.
So, but no, it's going, it is actually really going very well. We figured it out, if that makes sense. There's still room to grow, of course, but we figured it out. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Our executive session,